and welcome. Federal government responds to Twitter's action on the president's message to troublemakers across the country, says its presence in Nigeria is suspect. Gunmen kill aide to the Benue State Governor, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police Christopher Dega, after trailing him to Jos, the Plateau State capital. Police say suspects have been arrested. Nigerians make their final contribution as House of Representatives public hearing on the 1999 Constitution Amendment winds down across the country. And UNILAG Governing Council says 2 lecturers involved in sex for grades scandal is sacked. And Israeli opposition parties form coalition to end Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year reign as the country's prime minister. Plus we'll have business, sports, news from Abuja, and later on international news from our London studio.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's former Finance Minister Olusegun Ogaga calls for adoption of sustainable policies in achieving economic growth.
On sports news tonight, Serena Williams brushes off a second set blip to reach the 3rd round of the French Open in Paris.
And from Abuja, Senate passes bill prohibiting discrimination between first degrees and higher national diploma in the country.
The Minister of Information today called Twitter's rules to question in his reaction to an action taken by Twitter, deleting the president's tweet as it cited violation of its rules. Twitter had deleted President Buhari's tweet where he issued a threat to troublemakers in the southeast while making reference to the civil war. But according to the minister who addressed the media after the Federal Executive Council meeting, the president reserves the right to condemn actions that he considers damaging to the government.
Those that are misbehaving, they were either too young, they didn't know what happened. But for those of us who went through all these things, we can't understand. So we will treat them in the language they understand.
That statement from the president has since opened up a trail of reactions in the social media. An excerpt of the president's statement published on his Twitter handle immediately generated over 4,000 retweets, 17,000 quote tweets, and over 6,000 likes before it was pulled down by Twitter, an action which the federal government frowns on.
Twitter may have its own rules. It's not a universal rule. If Mr. President anywhere in the world feels very bad and concerned about a situation, he is free to express such views. Now, we should stop comparing apples with oranges. If an organization is proscribed, it is different from any other organization which is not proscribed. 2, any organization that gives directives to its members to attack police stations, to kill policemen, to attack correctional centers, to kill warders. I'm not saying that Mr. President does not have the right to express his dismay and anger about that. We are the one guilty of double standards. I don't see anywhere in the world where an organization, a person will stay in somewhere outside Nigeria and will direct its members to attack the symbols of authority.
The global social media platform has a policy to remove tweets which it considers a breach of its rules. Such rules cover threats of violence against an individual or a group of people, promotion of terrorism or violent extremism, and harassment. The federal government feels the decision is suspect.
The mission of Twitter in Nigeria is very, very suspect. As Twitter deleted the violent tweets that Nnamdi Kanu has been sending, Has it? The same Twitter during the NSAS program that was funding NSAS protesters was the first to withdraw, to close the account of former president of US, Trump. And you see, when people were burning police stations and killing policemen in Nigeria during NSAS, for Twitter, it was about the right to protest. But when a similar thing happened on the Capitol, it became insurrection.
Although the federal government considers the action damaging, the minister, however, did not say if any action will be taken against Twitter.
The police say they have arrested the suspected killers of a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Christopher Dega, who was also the Principal Senior Special Assistant on Special Security to Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State. Mr. Dega was killed last night in the Bukuru area of Jos South Local Government Area, Plateau State. The Plateau State Police Commissioner, Edward Ebuka, says preliminary investigations revealed that the retired Assistant Commissioner who left Makudi was trailed to Jos, where he was shot. According to him, the suspected killers are currently being interrogated. Meanwhile, Governor Samuel Ortom has again asked President Muhammadu Buhari to convene a national security dialogue over the security situation in the country.
Government have failed completely. It is unfortunate. These killings are unwarranted. If government were ready to listen to superior ideas and advice and were proactive, it is unfortunate. I'm part of government. I can't run away from it. So I can equally say that we have failed as a government, because the primary responsibility of any responsible government is to provide security for lives and property. If there is no security, nothing meaningful can thrive. There can be no development. Nobody will create industries or bring his investment to put in Nigeria where people will be gainfully employed. No economic activities can go on. Everybody will be afraid, and that is what is happening. So it is really unfortunate. My senior special assistant on special security, retired AIG Dega, served with me here. And this is someone who has retired but is not tired and is still active. And so for him to have been murdered in the manner that he did, a retired AIG, gone. And look at what is happening. Northeast, northwest, north central, south-south, southeast, southwest. So where is Nigeria again?
In the meantime, the National Youth Council of Nigeria is asking President Muhammadu Buhari to identify those behind the insecurity in the country and ensure they face the law. The president of the council, Mr. Solomon Adodo, frowned on the rising cases of violence in the country and urges young people to reject any move for them to be used to spread violence in the country. The group also called on the proponents of secession and ethnic wars to review their position and direct their energy towards the unity of Nigeria.
From 29th of June, the National Youth Council of Nigeria has decided to take the bull by the horn to convene a meeting of Nigerian youths to come together and reason as one, to find a pathway for enduring peace for our nation. The Leadership, Economic and Security Summit is geared at finding a way where all Nigerians can coexist as one. Strong, united, and mutually benefiting entity, where the rights of all Nigerians will be defended and upheld, irrespective of religion and irrespective of region. We have therefore come to say a big no to all the calls for secession. We have therefore come to say a big no to all the calls for ethnic violence. The spate of killings is what we totally condemn. We want to use this medium to call on the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, to rise and take an assertive stand against all criminals, all terrorists, all bandits, irrespective of their class, social standing, religion, or region.
To the fallout of the security crisis, the closure of some internally displaced persons camps in Maiduguri has caused a stir among the affected population. And this comes at a time when the state government just commissioned 500 units of 2-bedroom houses in Auno community for the displaced persons. But the houses are insufficient as aggrieved IDPs from other camps recently shut are still homeless.
Auno town came into limelight in February last year when stranded Maiduguri-bound travelers were burned to death in their sleep during an overnight stopover. Now the town comes alive with cultural performances over the IDP resettlement effort of the Borno State government. A lot of households are to benefit from the 500 housing unit provided by the government to ease the impact of activities of insurgents in the area. Before commissioning the houses, Governor Babagana Zulum frowns on the prevalence of social vices in the IDP camps, which he insists will no longer be tolerated.
The situation in the IDP camps now are not palatable. There is increasing prostitution in the IDP camps. There is increasing drug abuse in the IDP camp. Some are living inside the town, but coming into the IDP camps in the morning to receive food items from non-governmental organizations. Some are coming on a monthly basis to receive food items, and therefore such conditions will never be accepted by the government of Borno State under my leadership.
Meanwhile, just across the road and away from the celebrations is a not-so-cheery atmosphere for the IDPs who are now homeless due to the closure of the NYSC camp by the government. For them, it heralds despair for about 200 families who have always called the camp home in the past 7 years.
What they told us when we were leaving NYSC camp was that they would take us to Auno or Dalori where there are accommodation arrangements. But to our surprise, when we got here, some officials told us to search for and rent accommodation and that we will be refunded later. We don't agree with such arrangement. We will keep staying here for everyone to see us.
Apparently, the houses provided by the Borno State government are inadequate for the population of IDPs, and for these stranded displaced persons, they are quite unsure of what lies ahead as they wait in the open.
In part 2, after the break, police authorities in Lagos meet market leaders over security. Plus, Nigerians make their final contributions as the House public hearing on the 1999 Constitution Amendment winds down across the country. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Federal government responds to Twitter's action on the president's message to troublemakers across the country, says its mission in Nigeria suspect. Gunmen kill aide to Benue State Governor, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police Christopher Bega, after trailing him to Jos, the Plateau State capital. Police say suspects arrested. Nigerians make their final contributions as the House of Representatives public hearing on the 1999 Constitution Amendment winds down across the country. UNILAG Governing Council sacked 2 lecturers involved in sex for grades scandal. And Israeli opposition parties form coalition to end Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year reign as the country's prime minister. The police authorities here in Lagos have called for a meeting with leaders of major markets across the state as measures to ensure adequate security. The Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosu, said all laid down laws governing the markets are to be strictly enforced for proper security. Mr. Odumosu also allayed fears of marketers over a viral video of an expected attack on Lagos markets, saying the command will match words with action by making better security arrangements across markets and other parts of the metropolis.
You are aware about 72 hours, a video went viral wherein somebody that was alleged that Alaba International Market was going to be attacked, especially an electronic one. And in Lagos, we are always proactive. When we got that one now, we decided within ourselves, security-wise, that we have to hold the meeting, interacting with all those that work and sell in that area. And because it is said to be a particular group, we decided now to extend it out to all the major markets. The purpose of it is just reassurance. Let them know the preparedness of the command for any security breach that may come up. And let them know that so they should go about their lawful businesses without any fear of any attack.
We have an update on the abduction of 136 students from the Islamic school in Tegina area of Niger State last week. The state government today said it's making progress in the negotiations with the abductors to secure the release of the students. The deputy governor of the state, Ahmed Ketso, says the negotiation was not about payment of ransom, but rather how to ensure that the students are released unharmed. He explains that the government is also aware that bandits are demanding ransom from the parents of the students, but the government is not involved in such negotiations. The deputy governor also announced a ban on commercial motorcycle operation in Minna, the state capital.
We can now confirm that a total of 136 students were abducted. This was followed by a briefing on measures being put in place for the safe release of the abductee. In our last update, we disclosed that government was making efforts to identify the bandits, their location through the combined effort of the security agencies. We also confirmed the government had ordered all boarding schools in the area to temporarily revert today. Perhaps the reason the bandits attacked the Islamic school. Government is now in touch with some of the parents of the kidnapped children. They have been assured of the safe return of their wards. Let me reinstate our stand not to pay any form of ransom to any criminal like called bandit. As part of security measures, I wish to announce the total ban of all commercial motorcycles Okada in the state capital, Minna, with effect from tomorrow, Thursday, 3rd June 2021. However, private motorcycle owners will be allowed to operate in the daytime with restriction from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m.
Today is the last day of the 2-day public hearing by the House of Representatives on the proposed amendment of the 1999 Constitution. A major feature at the session today in some northern states is a call for the transfer of the minimum wage from the exclusive list to the concurrent. Our correspondent Terry Ikumi reports.
Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello arrives the glass hall of the Government House, Lokoja, for continuation of the Constitution Review public hearing organized by the House of Representatives. In declaring the event open, he draws attention to the need to decongest the exclusive list.
This is imperative if we are to, among other things, develop organic responses to food security and crush the menace of drugs and substance abuses that is wreaking havoc on our youth, women, and even some leaders all over this nation. It is not only youth and women that are abusing substances. Majority of our leaders are abusing substances too.
Governor Bello and the Nigeria Labour Congress, however, disagree on transferring the minimum wage from the exclusive legislative list to the concurrent list.
Payroll and minimum wage must match its carrying capacity. This can no longer be imposed on states on the basis of labor agreements with the federal government.
The situation between labor and the governors of various states today have never been too corded, and for that obvious reason, most of them decide to at least demand for national minimum wage to be made a state wage. And I think their thinking is where they will make it a state wage and they will begin to pay slave wage to workers in Nigeria. But I think perhaps that is what they are conversing for. I will equally say that it will be better we begin to open a discussion where the salaries of governors of Nigeria will be decided by the voters based on their performance and achievements in this country.
In the Northwest, the hearing continues in Kano State. Governor Abdullahi Ganduje speaks on the diversity in the country, which should be an advantage.
According to some sociologists and psychologists, every ethnic nationality in Nigeria has some inherent traits, if properly harnessed, will make Nigeria a stronger society.
Submissions are received from Kaduna State calling for separation of northern and southern Kaduna. Participants at these hearings are hopeful that their submissions would be given due consideration, which they believe will yield an improved document that will be beneficial to every Nigerian. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
A similar session also held across southern states with a total of 35 memoranda submitted. Some of the issues of priority include state creation and better opportunities for the physically challenged.
Nigeria at this stage, this is what we need.
As the public hearing of the House of Representatives on the amendment of the 1999 Constitution in the Southeast enters day 2, stakeholders from Enugu, Ebonyi and Anambra states have continued to bear their minds on areas they believe should be amended.
That is the most important thing.
Declaring day 2 open, Deputy Governor of Ebonyi State, Kelechi Igwe, advocates a review of the allocation formula.
It is the sections that deal with the federal allocation of our revenues and the principles behind those allocations.
A participant from Enugu State calls for the creation of Adada State, while another from Anambra proposes a provision that makes room for the physically challenged in the National Assembly.
I'm asking this panel to recommend and challenge us, challenge Adada people to see how fast, how rapid they will develop that environment. We in the disability community passionately appeal to you to please extend this inclusiveness to the 35 million Nigerians with disability.
The Southwest public hearing comprising Ondo, Osun and Ekiti has also ended. The two-day sitting produced a total of 35 memoranda.
Judicial reform, appointment of more justices of Supreme Courts, and timeline for adjudication of cases, establishment of states or regional police. We recommend that the Constitution should bring clarity and emphasis to recognizing and affirming that 18 years as age of majority for marriage and for sexual consent.
Concluding the exercise, the chairman, Honorable Peter Akpatison, commends all participants.
We assure you that we are determined to turn out a reviewed document that will capture the aspirations of Nigerians.
With all contributions in, citizens can only hope that their suggestions make it to the final draft of a new and better constitution.
When the news at 10 returns, Senate passes bill prohibiting discrimination between first degree and higher national diploma in the country. Plus, former Minister of Finance Olusegun Aganga calls for abduction of sustainable policies in achieving economic growth. And that will be on Business News. Please join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. More memoranda were presented at the Lagos Centre today as the lawmakers rounded off the public hearing on Constitution Amendment. Our political correspondent Sheung Okimbaloe reports.
Until they are back in this room for the second day of the House of Reps public hearing on Constitution Amendment. And without delay, presentations begin and grey areas in the Constitution have been addressed.
Wish to be allowed to stand on.
Some senior lawyers too took to the podium and they make very strong submissions on aspects Nigerians need to pay attention to.
The referendum will be done throughout the federation, and that is what confers popular legitimacy to any constitution in any nation. Without a referendum, there is no constitution. There is no expression of the will of the people.
The funding of the police will be deducted from source. And the reason for this is this. If you earn young men and women, and they are not paid salary for 6 months, 1 year, as it is the case with the national minimum wage, you are going to create a lot of problems for the society.
The proceedings got rather interesting when one of the presenters touched on an area the lawmakers didn't quite agree.
You alone have 9 staff as 8. You alone, you have 9 staff as 8. Senators have 13 staff. House of Assembly have 6 staff. What law are you making? 9 staff. That was what I had in the 1990s. How many staff do you have, ma? How many staff?
I don't want to sit here and then make conversation and I will not correct.
I understand. So if I'm passing a message, it's not about you. It's not about National Assembly. You are dropping too much money in Nigeria. The sources of this country is going into National Assembly. Expunge our parliament today. We will not miss you.
We thank all of you and we assure you that what we have come here to do is to make sure that everybody's voice is heard.
This phase is over at the center. Nigerians will now anticipate the harmonization of the recommendations and the concluding aspects of the amendment process. Sheung Okimbaloe, reporting for Channels Television News.
The Governing Council of the University of Lagos has sacked 2 lecturers, Dr. Boniface Igbenegu and Dr. Samuel Oladipo, for sexual harassment of students, as exposed by a BBC documentary aired in 2019. In the documentary, Dr. Igbenegu of the European Languages and Integration Studies Department and Dr. Oladipo of the Economics Department were exposed by undercover reporters posing as students. The council, chaired by Mr. Lanre Teju-Osho, took the decision to sack the duo based on recommendations of a Senate committee that investigated the sexual harassment story. The university's council also directed that the management should review the sexual harassment policy of the institution as may be necessary and institute effective strategies to prevent a recurrence. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Makwe Ogun Yusuf. Makwe?
Hello, Ijoma. It's good to see you. We're starting off in the National Assembly, where the Senate has passed a bill to prohibit discrimination between first degrees and higher national diplomas. The bill is sponsored by Senator Ayo Akinye-Lure and passed third reading during plenary session today. Senate President Ahmed Lawan, in his remarks, emphasized that the passage of the bill will serve as motivation for polytechnic graduates. And in the south of the country, for the third consecutive day, the River State Governor, Nyesom Wike, is laying the foundation blocks for another satellite campus at the River State University. According to the state governor, the need to expand the institution's reach into other parts of the state would enable more youths in the state enroll for university degrees within their locality. He also encouraged other government officials to partner with the community leaders to develop sustainable programs in their locality.
It's the flag-off of yet another satellite campus of the River State University. Located in Ahoda East local government area, this campus is the third to be flagged off in the past 3 days as Governor Nyesom Wike strives to increase access to education in the state. For the governor, his administration is more determined to tackle insecurity, which has partly hampered development in this locality.
I cannot begin to develop this place and then criminality will be on the high rise. Does it make sense? We want companies to come to Ahoda. How will you get employment without companies? How will you? Every day say unemployment. Why would there not be unemployment? Let me never catch you one day that will sell what belongs to the people because he want to collect money. I will dethrone that traditional leader that day.
The flag-off exercise for the construction of the campus, which is to house the Faculty of Humanities, is performed by a former Vice-Chancellor of the University of Port Harcourt, Professor Joseph Ajenka.
Flag off to the honor of the Almighty.
Earlier, Governor Wike, dressed in traditional attire of the Tiv people of Benue State, who recently conferred on him a chieftaincy title, led guests for the groundbreaking of the dualization of a 6-kilometer Ahoda Omok Road Phase 1.
Today, Port Harcourt has been transformed. The other day, we were not going in Bori. We are dualizing from Sabiwa, we are dualizing from Sabiwa to Bori. We are not dualizing from Bori to Kono. We sit life. About 30-something kilometers of road. What brings a city? What makes a place a city? One is what? Road.
The construction of the road is flagged off by a former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, himself an indigene of the area. Governor Wike had, before setting out for the all-important state functions, supervised the signing of agreement between the state government and Julius Berger for the dualization of the same Ahoda Omok Road.
All away from development of infrastructure there, cases of cholera in Bauchi State are on the rise as the state records more numbers of infected persons in a single day. Over 200 patients were admitted yesterday alone at the Cholera Treatment Center in the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital. 8 more persons have been confirmed dead, bringing the total number of fatalities to 28. The state government is, however, collaborating with Doctors Without Borders to manage the situation in the state. And a cadet of the Nigerian Correctional Service in Kaduna State, Mansur Suleiman, has died by suicide. The victim was among the cadets attending the 28th Assistant Superintendent in Correctional Basic Course at the Nigerian Correctional Service Staff College in Kaduna State. According to a statement by the commandant of the college, the cadet committed suicide in a college hostel while his roommates had gone out for early morning prayers today. The commandant, who expressed shock over the incident, also directed a thorough investigation into the circumstances leading to his death. Well, that's all from Abuja. It's now over to Anne, who's standing by for business news.
Banking, so easy, so simple. Dial *894# now to experience it. You first, First Bank.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
Let's begin business news with the economy. There is need to have an effective and continuous governance in achieving economic growth. And that's the view of stakeholders at an advocacy program organized by the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria. Speaking at the virtual event today, the former Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Mr. Olusegun Aganga, says that Nigeria needs to adopt policy sustainability approaches in meeting set goals for economic recovery.
Effective national planning, governance and economic growth, all interconnected. These are all fundamental issues that need to be addressed. This is what these stakeholders at a new advocacy program of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria believe will guarantee the much-needed growth. The Institute is kick-starting this conversation to proffer solutions to these multifaceted challenges left unattended to by successive policymakers.
There is the need for us to go back to the basis to ensure that we connect these key concepts together, that we put in place strong national planning that is future forward-looking, that is realistic, and that has to be implemented by successive government, not a government coming to play to say this is our own policy. We have one country, and we must run it as such.
Micro level, it is down.
A two-time minister in Nigeria, Mr. Olusegun Aganga, believes that the current challenges facing the country are due to a lack of failure to identify the root cause after over 50 years.
Having resources in the ground, finite resources that, are wasting assets, it does not make you rich as a nation. Having oil in the ground, having solid minerals in the ground, 24 solid minerals, does not make you rich. What makes you rich is what you do with that, the value addition to it. And we're still struggling with that. And that's what we diversify the economy.
Another major issue is that of insecurity, which is believed to emanate from the inability to address the three fundamental issues.
Just a matter of propelling the economy again, so that the economy can be stable and can be prosperous, and then the relevant stakeholders, we have something to do so that this insecurity will become the thing of the past.
Amidst all of these, what is the way forward?
We need to do more to have leaders who have core values, values-based leaders, and we have to change that right from primary school, secondary school, university. We need to have leadership institutes, finishing schools for people leaving the university where you teach them about leadership and values. So you need to have a system in place that will produce them in greater numbers.
With the solutions proffered, Nigerians have been asked to get involved and add value to achieving the much-needed growth across the country.
The local equities market overturned yesterday's losses as the older share index gained 0.18% as investors renew interest in bellwether stocks. Larry Williams has the details.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. I'm Larry Williams. Yep, we have the bull back in the second trading day of the month of June. The all share index is in the green today, closing at 38,482 points, but with less deals compared to yesterday at 3,273, valued at 1.32 billion naira. The volume is also lower today at 156 million units traded. University Press Limited topped the gainers counter, up 9.38%, trading at 1 naira 4 kobo, while CWG topped the losers counter, down 9.66%. Looking at the top trades today, we have the trio of Japol Gold, FBNH, and Transcore topping that counter. Let's check out the sectoral chart. Insurance isn't the lone gainer like yesterday. Today we have banking, insurance, and industrial sector also in the green. It's the second trading day of the month, and with the dynamic nature of this market, we can only keep our fingers crossed for its next direction in Thursday's session. And that's the Stock Market Report. I'm Larry Williams. It's back to you.
Thanks a lot. lot, Ladi. Stocks in the United States gained slightly, with the S&P 500 hovering near all-time high amid tussle between economic optimism and inflation concerns. But let's see the closing figures for Wednesday. And that's the midweek edition of Business News. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Jama.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, Israeli opposition parties form coalition to end Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year reign as the country's prime minister. Plus other international news from our studio in London. Do join us again. Welcome back. Israel's party has formed a coalition government and will be announcing it to President Reuven Rivlin tonight. Here's Simon Pusey with more international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A chemical-laden cargo ship is sinking off the coast of Sri Lanka, sparking fears of an environmental disaster. The Singapore-registered Express Pearl had been on fire for almost 2 weeks before the blaze was put out. Hundreds of tons of oil from fuel tanks could leak into the sea if it sinks, devastating nearby marine life. The Sri Lankan and Indian navies have worked jointly over the past days in an attempt to put out the fire and prevent the ship from breaking up and sinking. Meanwhile, Iran's largest navy ship, the Karg, has sunk after catching fire in the Gulf of Oman. No further explanation was given for the latest incident in a region of sensitive waterways, where there have been accusations of attacks on ships owned by Iran and Israel. Iranian state TV said the fire started around 2:25 a.m. on Wednesday near the Iranian port of Jask, where it was on a training mission. The crew were reportedly all safely rescued. Malaysia says it will summon China's ambassador after 16 Chinese military aircraft flew over disputed waters off its eastern state of Sarawak. Fighter jets were scrambled to intercept the transport planes after detecting suspicious activity over the South China Sea. Malaysia's foreign ministry described the maneuver as a serious threat to national sovereignty, while China responded that its aircraft had abided by international law. Israel's parliament has elected former centre-left politician Isaac Herzog as the country's president.
We're working on it. We're pressing for it. It's still a long way.
The role is largely ceremonial, but also meant to promote unity among ethnic and religious groups.
It is with great awe and with great excitement I humbly accept the vote of Israel's Knesset for me for the role of Israel's 11th president. I would like to thank each and every one of the Knesset members for the trust you put in me. I accept the heavy responsibility you have entrusted me in, and I accept the privilege of serving the whole nation in this esteemed role.
Meanwhile, Israeli opposition leaders say they are close to agreeing to form a coalition that would end Benjamin Netanyahu's 12-year stretch as prime minister. Under the proposed deal, the right-wing politician Naftali Bennett will be prime minister for 2 years before handing over power to Mr. Lanka. The Ugandan minister Katumba Wamala, who survived an assassination attempt, has thanked the rider of a motorbike taxi for taking him to hospital in the capital Kampala. General Katumba Wamala's vehicle was sprayed with bullets by gunmen on motorcycles, killing his daughter and driver. In a tweet, he said, "I would like, in a special way, to thank the Boda Boda man who forced me on his Boda so that I can go and get first aid." The minister was injured, but not seriously. Spanish customs officers have intercepted a fishing boat carrying 15 tons of hashish 30 miles off the east coast of the Canary island of Fuerteventura. Spanish officers boarded the Odyssey 227 on request of Mongolian consular authorities. The 4 crew members, an Italian captain and 3 Senegalese men, were escorted off the boat and arrested by police. And finally, a pair of critically endangered lemurs have arrived at Chester Zoo in England, making them the first of their kind to be cared for in a European zoo. A video shared by the zoo shows the rare duo dancing their way through the enclosure as they move sideways in a characteristic manner. Named Beatrice and Elliot, the two 8-year-old lemurs travelled from the Duke Lemur Centre in North Carolina to help establish a new conservation breeding programme for the rare primates. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Serena Williams has reached the third round of the French Open with a battling 3-set win over Mihaela Buzănescu of Romania. Serena, a 3-time champion in Paris, won 6-3, 5-7, 6-1 and will face fellow American Danielle Collins for a place in the last 16. Japanese star Kei Nishikori has once again proved to be an Iron Man when he fought back to beat Russian Karen Khachanov 4-6, 6-2, 2-6, 6-4, 6-4 in 4 hours for a place in the French Open third round. The 31-year-old broke Khachanov to love with his 57th winner in the final game and will face Switzerland's Henri Laaksonen. In football, Real Madrid have unveiled Carlo Ancelotti as the new coach for the second time after signing a 3-year contract with the former Everton manager. Ancelotti was in charge at the Estadio Santiago Bernabeu between 2013 and 2015, winning the club's 10th European Cup in his first season. And that's sports news.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. The federal government today responded to Twitter's action on the president's message to troublemakers across the country, saying his mission in Nigeria is suspect. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Honyato. Good night.